and start the reassembly process. I like to put the stove together this way, with the back on the platform and being able to drop the barrel on it. One of the most important parts of the stove is the gasket system, which in most cases you don't even see. This is what makes the stove airtight. What makes the stove responsive when you open and close the draft, because that's the only way that the air gets into the stove if your stove is properly sealed. And what I'm going to do is put some masking tape on the ends, because when I cut these ends of the fiberglass rope, they get all frayed. It takes 5 feet of this 3/8 inch rope to do the front and the back. So I put a little bead of this clear gasket cement in the groove. There are 2 ways to do it. One is to allow it to dry until it's tacky and then press the gasket into place. The other way is to put the gasket in right away when it's still wet. Cut it to length. Wrap it with masking tape. The masking tape will burn up. It's no big deal. And then work it around until the ends are tight together. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on the front ring and the bottom. I sell complete gasket sets. Basically, I can put up a set of gaskets for any stove that we ever made. The front and back ring get these heavy gaskets, 3/8 inch diameter fiberglass rope. I use a 1/4 inch gasket where on the other side of this, where the front ring meets the door. And later I'll show you the other types of gaskets for the window system, which are put in without adhesive like this. You saw how difficult it was to get this cleaned out with the sandblaster. If you break the window, you don't want it to be difficult. You want to take it apart easily, you want to get it back together, you want to be able to use your stove again. Some people do make the mistake of using compounds like furnace cement, and it just makes the whole cleanup process so much more difficult and time consuming. There. Let that sit a few minutes. There, on a nice protected surface. It's basically a single edge razor blade. There you go, one of these things that you use to scrape windows clean. So the first step will be to, and I keep one of these handy just for this purpose. See, it gets most of it off. Comes off in nice little curls. And like I told you before, you can wad up newspaper and get some of this off even if the glass is hot, even if the stove is running. But what you don't want to do is use Windex or any other window cleaner on a hot window. Now there are compounds that are made specifically for this. Let's try this. Rutland makes this conditioning glass cleaner for stove, grill, and hearth. Okay. Let's see how well this works. And what I'm finding is that it's got like a hazy surface. So you won't be able to see through this perfectly. That's what often happens with a very old piece of glass. There's something about the fire and the chemistry that etches that surface. It looks nice when it's wet, but when it dries, it'll have a slight haze to it. As opposed to the other side, which is still nice and shiny. This is the side that's been next to the pie plate and not subjected to the flames and deposits from the smoke and combustion. This guy weighs 100 pounds, so I put some handles on it. I didn't make the marks on the casting to center it, so what I'm going to do is to just take a ruler and measure from the hole, center of the hole, 7 3/4 to the seam, 7 3/4. I get that pretty well centered the first time. Basically, we're going to do the same thing. Try to get it lined up from this hole to the welded seam, about 7 3/4 inches. Okay. Paint rods. You can get away with just putting the rods on the bottom and leaving the top rods off. It'll hold the stove just fine. Same thing, just a little bead of it all the way around. The right way to do this is to put the door on. So I'm going to insert it through the door with the back end first, put one tab in, and find a spot where that one goes in, just like that. And what I do is I take this as a visual reference line here and line it up with these two tabs. Once I get it pretty much where I want it to be, I'll take this precisely engineered piece of 2x4 and pound it into place, and that's what holds it. The process of drilling. I use this as a bit of extra leverage.